9 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And why don't we throw this in there too?
Tonight's episode, photo finish.
All right, good afternoon or good evening or good morning whenever you happen to be listening to this. If you're one of the people watching us live, welcome. We do this live every Friday. We go through the week and chat about what was good, specifically in the Second Amendment content creation on various platforms. So GJ's out there, welcome. Give me some feedback on the volume. I've got a lot of fans running, cooling down the place. So let me know if that's messing with mic. All right, so we have a poll out there to start things off. On the YouTube poll function in the text chat over here, you're seeing it on the right side of the screen. Why are there so few announcements about the Gun Rights Policy Conference? So I don't know if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen anybody even talking about it, and maybe wonder. So I put the poll up there. The possible responses are people that are not talking about it, don't know about it and don't care about it. The people that aren't talking about it, know about it, but they don't care about it. They do care about it, but they didn't know about it for some other reason. So I figured the people that are not talking about it either care or don't care, and they either know about it or they don't know about it. So that's basically the three different permeations of that, or something I might be missing completely. So if you got an idea on that, feel free to throw it out there. I'll leave that run for a little bit. I do start those polls occasionally before the show even starts, just so there's a reason to come, or if you're there, you got something to hang out and look at. So I guess while we're talking about it, let's mention that tomorrow is the 36th Annual Gun Rights Policy Conference. This year it'll be virtual like last year, except instead of being 2 days, it's only about 4.5 hours, spread out about 5 hours tomorrow evening. It'll start at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So that's looks like 10 a.m. for us on the East Coast, on the non-metric side of the country. And it'll run 3 different sessions. These are premieres, so they'll act like a live chat on YouTube. They'll have a comment section over here, and there's a place to put comments under the video. I've added comments to piggyback from each of the shows to the next one, and we'll find out if the people that are in the sessions are there in the comments as well. Since this is pre-recorded, they have the potential to show up in the comments. So the first segment will be the introduction, the invocation, whatever, and then the first segment is called History with Cheryl Todd, Dave Hardy, Kevin Dixie, Katie, Dave Kopel, some guy, and John Richardson. I shouldn't say some guy because I have no idea how to say that name. George Moskery, I never heard of him. Then on second session will be Outreach with Tony Simon, Robin Sandoval, Rick Ector, Derek LeBlanc. Then you got Gun Culture with Andrew Gottlieb, Chris Chang, and Charlie Cook. And then the third session has Public Safety with John Lott, Jim Irvine, Sada Ayub, Patrick Collins, Dan Wass, and Nikki Gozer. And then media is AWR Hawkins, Beth Bauman, Amanda Sophocles, Beth Alcazar, Don Irving, Mike Porowski, Stephen Gutowski, Cam Edwards, and Mark Walters. Some people have done live, and I'm sure they're comfortable with it. Others, I've never really seen them on YouTube or live, so we'll see if they're able to do that. If they're encouraged to do so, or if it's something that happens. So that's the Gun Rights Policy Conference that is happening tomorrow. And the question in the comments here is, why isn't anybody talking about it? We only got 4 votes, and there's not that many people watching, so we'll see if anybody comments on that. Otherwise, let's dig in. So what we do is look at the description of this video. throughout the week. I start this video earlier in the week, and I just use it as my notes, using mostly my YouTube history up here. You can go through and see the different videos I've been looking at and put down the best of them. Oops. Put down all the good stuff, all the stuff that's focused on Second Amendment or worth your time. So you could use this as a cheat sheet to go back and listen to everything good, or to make sure you didn't miss something that's worth checking out, clicking a thumbs up, engaging the logarithms and the systems of engagement, subscribing to channels that are worthy, etc. So it's not necessarily in order of awesomeness, but it kind of is, starting with the top. The best thing you can watch each week, if you only spend a couple hours paying attention to 2A. I don't think you'll find anything more authentic at this time than Locked and Loaded Latinos, happening on Sundays for a couple of hours. And this week they talked about news of the week and sort of their upcoming adventures. So as they experience and grow and become more involved in the community, they've got a bunch of stuff coming up as far as events and potential for participation. It looks like through their Instagram that they are going to Texas, so that's cool. I don't think they've been to Texas yet as a project. So next up is Shooting the Australian Way with Santee. Oh yeah, so Santee had a pretty good show just out of nowhere. She does these live shows and she'll interview people trying to build community, I suspect. And in this one, somebody I'd never heard of before, Shooting Stuff Australia, and just some dude from Australia who has a channel and chatted for about 90 minutes on what the laws are like there and the infringements, I guess is the best word for it, and what it's like to deal with them. Santee's a great interviewer, asking great questions, and a great participation with the live people, or the people watching it live. Let's see, then we have a couple of things from Dragonman. As soon as this poll gets some votes and we get to the next poll, let's see, maybe we get to 10 votes, we'll stop this one. So the next poll is going to be, should we check because there's some Dragonman stuff over on the Instagram that's worth checking out. But getting back to this one, we got Dragonman machine gun shoot. And we had a couple of friends up there both to shoot, and they ended up participating and being part of the event. Pretty neat, giving us more insight into how it works out and the kind of level of participation. As you can see, there's two sort of segments here, two sections, and I guess these are people that work with Dragonman. Now, they said that this wasn't Dragonman stuff, but I think that's Dragonman's gun there. So they must be working with Dragonman in different ways. Pretty sure those are Dragonmans too. So the idea was you could go out and you could rent things like that, these different full auto machine guns, or if you just wanted to drill stuff, you could rent that cordless drill, it seems. So pretty neat, and this was just one of many videos that went up talking about the event, and this one was more like in preparation of the second day, I believe. This was this was the morning of the first day. Yeah, so pretty cool. And it's neat to see the event kind of behind the scenes when it's empty compared to when there's a bunch of people running around. Dragonman's pretty awesome. Still running until November 11th with museum tours. Of course, the place is open year-round. All right, so next we get to Great Start Shooting School, Suicide Prevention Saturday. This was another live one, but because I'm not used to her going live on Saturdays yet, because she hasn't been doing it consistently, this was live during Locked and Loaded Latinos, so nobody knew that this one was happening. It was 10 minutes long. Some of the takeaways from this one were feeding your mind good stuff and some breathing techniques. So basically, Suicide Prevention Saturday is a project that's been going on for a while now. And the goal is to prevent deaths, right? So if 2 out of every 3 deaths associated with a firearm are suicides, we accomplish many things by focusing on suicides. 1, we remove the stigma of suicide. The reason suicide is persistent in society is because it's not addressed. It's one of those topics that gets uncomfortable and people don't talk about it. And that is due to people being uncomfortable about it, not talking about it. So breaking that cycle is one thing. But offering, saying let's break the cycle is great, but offering actual constructive advice or tips or suggestions is the kind of stuff that's focused on Suicide Prevention Saturday. So changing the playing field by changing the game, right? So if an anti-person comes up to you, is it because they are so dedicated to the facts being correct on their side that they've researched it and they're there to change your mind? Or have they been told something, it felt good to them, and they're there to repeat it to you? And if you can break the paradigm, if you can break the tetherball game there, if you can break the back and forth by understanding their position better than they do, understanding their words, their position on it, their point of view on it, you can show that you understand their point of view. And from their point of view, there are alternative routes, there are alternative strategies that work with their mindset and their awareness that are multitudes more effective for saving lives than challenging gun owners' property. And if you don't see the advantage of that, then I don't know why you're listening to this chat. This might be too boring for people, but addressing suicide is super important. 2 out of every 3 firearms deaths. And by focusing the attention on those deaths and working with across the aisles, working with others, working in creative ways, working outside the box to address those deaths, we prevent people from dying, we make healthier people, and we stop the need or the ability for them to attack our property or our decisions to choose property. So if your goal is to actually change the future, you've got to change tactics and understand your adversaries. So some actual things you can take home from that, from her talk this Saturday, was this feeding your mind good stuff, good in, good out. If you don't eat healthy, how can you expect to be strong and healthy? If you don't think healthy, how can you expect to have a healthy attitude or mental stuff? And this isn't so much to prevent it, is to prevent suicide, as if you're sick or something, but is to say, how can you, or to keep motivated, keep from being sloppy or lazy or fearful or all of negative things that can creep into mindset. Feed yourself good stuff. There's plenty of interesting feeds, and there's plenty of inspirational feeds, and there's plenty of positive things you can pay attention to. If you choose to pay attention to the stuff that looks down, the stuff that looks backwards, the stuff that looks at what's under your feet, you don't see where you're going. And then some breathing techniques. And by not only understanding how breathing techniques can work, by giving your body the resources, the oxygen and the other resources that it needs, the posture and everything, to give yourself that physically looking up, to give yourself the optimistic mindset or whatever. Breathing is one of the ways to create that physically. And if you can relate that to someone, if you can have a conversation, imagine having a stressful conversation that's not being positive, it's not being productive, a non-productive, stressful, conversation with someone, and you stopped in the middle and said, why don't we take a second and do 3-3-3. Let's breathe in for 3, let's hold it for 3, and let's breathe out for 3. Let's do that 3 times. And then at the end of that, you say, that's a technique we can use to stop the mental focus that we had there that was causing stress. And that's the kind of way to reach across an aisle and have a physical way you can have a commonality with an adversary in a conversation Anyway, it's an interesting thing that she offers on Saturdays, and it's overlooked. So 132 subs, it's ridiculous, it's shameful. And again, 2 out of every 3 deaths. I don't know anybody else who's putting a consistent, authentic effort. Keep saying authentic because that's all I value, towards actually accomplishing that, right? Let's see. The antis are all about confirmation bias. Use their data against them, or at least show them that their data is being spoon-fed to them. And if they are actually intellectually honest, then they should just seek out information, right? But that's Brooke Cheney, a great start shooting school. If you're not sub to her, I don't know why you're watching this. Come on, man. So next we get Anna Taylor, Riding Shotgun with Charlie. So Riding Shotgun with Charlie is pretty good. And this is basically one of the better ones, I think. So I don't know if you've watched a lot of Riding Shotgun with Charlie or not, but this was one of my top 10 for sure. Maybe even top 5. Just something about it. She's super cool. It starts out super cool. And what was it, in Kansas or Nebraska or someplace weird? So everything about it is cool. Kansas City, Kansas. And yeah, definitely worth watching. Good one. Let's see, that gun is huge. So Ann Taylor had a viral thing back in the day, and that's this video. Hopefully I won't get copyrighted. No. So this guy's is a middleman. Next we get her video that made her 83,000 views. That's viral, I guess.
Well, here's a few tips that you may not have thought of. First, right off the bat, make sure that you are practicing good.
So her deal is she started carrying and then found that there wasn't good carry options for a girl, right? Because of whatever, blah, 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 girls and their shapes and blah, blah, blah. And then, so somewhere in here, she's going to grab a Desert Eagle. At this point. So she's showing how she could have been carrying that giant Desert Eagle and still been able to do her thing as a girl or whatever. And this was in 17. So pretty interesting. And the way she was talking about it, you know, that was a while back for a project that's been on a while. That's the beginning of their project. Let's see, then we get to Guardian Long Range. Guardian is a cool story. The Guardian shoot is a long story. It's not necessarily a competition, although it probably falls into the realm of competition sports. It's more of a yearly event type of competition, and it's at this Altus this year. I guess it's at this Altus shooting range, and cool story, and it's a cool, interesting, eclectic group of shooters, and yeah, just super neat. You get to see, I think, the shooting community, the shooting community of 2021 at the Guardian shoot. Let's see. Then we got Gizzard doing the chats all the time. I don't know why I put this one in here other than to give dude credit for doing 8 hours of live conversation focused on guns, but often Second Amendment topics, without any kind of focus on trying to be famous or rich or nothing from it. Just offering a place for people to have consistent conversation. It's kind of frustrating listening to the chat a little bit earlier, but you know, it's not Gizzard's fault. He presides the tables, and the conversation that happens, and you know, it's real, and it's frustrating sometimes to listen to apathy. I've seen it over the years come and go, and if some people don't see a win, they leave. You know, they're fair weather friends. If they don't see a for sure victory, they don't even try. They don't even start, and it's frustrating listening to people sit around, you know, distracting themselves with purchases, distracting themselves with other things. And it doesn't happen on just Gizzard's show, but Gizzard's is the one I watch, so he's getting in front of that one. But it's awesome that he creates a place for a real conversation to happen. Much different, for example, than the Locked and Loaded, which do an actual 2-hour presentation, a 2-hour show where they go live without a script, just some points and riff. Gizzard is creating a place for that to happen among individuals. Let's see. So this analytic data will get you reach 10 or 1,000 subs and get monetized. So Clover, the dude who does stuff, and one of his new projects is taking all the stuff that he used to do on his channel on Thursday, cram it into a new channel. He's got all kinds of stuff in the works, and at first I thought he was nuts, but now I understand what he's talking about over here. So doing pretty good. Only 37 subs. Again, it's pathetic considering the amount of effort Chris puts in, or Clover Tech puts into the community. It doesn't matter, whatever. So he's not looking for nothing. He's just trying to put it in a place that makes it a little easier to find than having to comb through all his other stuff. Let's see, then we got Echo, another dude who's just doing his thing. And while he offers live, long format conversations focused on reloading, he's been doing these interviews as well. So Echo had on this guy 30-06 John, who's a reloader, had a lot of interesting stuff. I was actually listening to that one while I was listening to something else. I don't know how many other people can listen to two. I can listen to 2 or 3 live things at the same time, especially if it's just a bunch of people commenting on what other people are doing. That's pretty easy to double, to multitask over. And a conversation that isn't on something I'm super interested in, like reloading, I can pretty much multitask that with another conversation. And at the time, there was also pretty much another super boring one happening that I was more monitoring than listening to. So I didn't listen to this one in depth, but I really don't care about reloading as much. I like watching the community grow and seeing the participation that the community has. Some communities are there to subscribe to their channel. Other communities are there to regurgitate some bullshit political message. Echo is there to perpetuate the info, the knowledge, and he's fostered a great community of people that are also there. They're not focused on 2A, but what are you going to do? Not always, at least. Let's see, then he had a pretty interesting conversation with Maj on his Black Guns Matter channel, talking to this guy about hood gardening. So it's interesting, basically a concept of bringing community gardening to neighborhoods, right? So where somebody might go, you have to go out of this area, this region even, to find organic or fresh food or even produce, right? A lot of places, especially places that are, I call them landlocked, super urban places where there's just skyscrapers all around. It's harder to get produce into places, so they're going to end up having a lot of boxed and canned and jarred foods. So this concept is community gardening, bringing in the skills and the motivation and using the resources available and then the manpower available, and then just sharing the benefit or the resource, whatever you grow from that. So bringing in the concept and the energy, and then up training folks to do it, and then keep that going. So it's interesting. It's the beginning of a project, so it's not the first of its kind. It's certainly not going to be the last, but you never know if it's going to be one that catches on and gets roots, so to speak, or gains roots, so to speak, grows, or if it's going to be a learning experience, and we'll see, what not to do or what didn't work. But either way, it seems pretty interesting. I'd say the conversation went pretty good. At some point, it got a little weird, but whatever. For the most part, though, awesome concept. Again, bring in the motivation and the knowledge to an area so that they can be more self-sufficient. Come on, we should be doing that everywhere. Anywhere there is a park or an unused waste of space, like a golf course or a tennis court, should be destroyed and rototilled over, and community gardening. And if a community is so affluent that they don't need, whatever, then grow something awesome, grow something interesting or whatever. But the skill set and the experience of growing, of being a part of the planet that we live on, I think is necessary for mammals, but it's just me. Let's see. So what the F is the DEA doing? So Crump, Crump's always over there leaking. Some people hate John Crump, right? What are you going to do? Did I buy a bunch of patches off of John Crump? Yeah, I did. Let's see, got a couple of comments on the new patches. People really like them at the Husker Harvest Days. It's a huge farm show. Oh, right on. So what's a Husker? An Indianan? I don't remember what a Husker is. So, yeah, I don't know which one's either. The red 2A patch, the chairs against the wall. Right on. Cool. Yeah, there is another Chairs Against the Wall, which is so weak because it says Chairs Against the Wall next to it. Like, I don't do that. If you don't know what it is, then what are you doing looking at my patch? Right, right on. But yeah, I bought a couple of Tony Simon's patches off Crump, so whenever those show up, they're still pre-orders. So whenever those show up, I think I bought enough to give one to a Free Patch Friday type of situation. Okay, that's pretty much it. There was not a lot of there was some 2A stuff this week, but I also didn't have all that much time to do that much 2A stuff, so that's what we get. The rest of this is just all extra stuff. So we got the Gun Rights Policy Conference deal that we talked about earlier. I'm going to go back up here and see how the poll is doing. Do we got 10 votes yet? It's close enough. So the poll that was going right now, which you had a chance to vote in and you did not take the opportunity, or you're not here. Why are there so few announcements about the Gun Rights Policy Conference? It looks like, we'll just end this and see which one. I want to have to even, oh, Nebraska is a Husker. Okay. I don't pay attention to sports, so I have no idea what those different words are. The way that people divide themselves for sports, I don't keep track of it. So let's see, why are there so few, I guess I can't click on that. Why are there so few announcements about the Gun Rights Policy Conference? The one that seems to have won with the response that seems to be more shared amongst most people is they don't know about it and don't care about it, which I think is probably the case. The next one was they don't care. Or no, they do care and would, but they didn't know about it. 28% of people said that. And there's only 7 votes, so it's just a couple of people. But assuming this is representative, I don't know. And then they know, but don't care. Nobody thought that. Nobody says that they knew about it and said, although a couple of people went told about it, went, oh, I don't care. Answer A is unfortunately true. I don't know which one is A anymore because of what I did. So what I did is I killed it and then it destroys the ranking and puts it in percentage order. All right, well, dang it. I was going to say the next one is going to be, should we also dig into subcrimes? All right, so we'll go back down to here. All right, so we had asked the question before. I also made a video about it and asked people about it, or asked people to vote in the poll, I guess. And then I also went on Instagram and asked people to vote in the poll. And then I made a video about the most, like a deep dive into the Gun Rights Policy Conference and asked people to vote there, I believe. So now let's go see. Now we have 43 votes. And as far as if people are planning to watch the Gun Rights Policy Conference, which premieres tomorrow, Saturday, September 25th at 1 p.m. Eastern, it'll run for about 4.5 hours to about 5 p.m. Eastern. So ridiculously short compared to past years. It'll be 3 sections of premieres, pre-recorded videos that will stream as if they were live with a live conversation, a live text chat, just like what you're experiencing here. So the answers are, so far, yes, I plan to watch live, 21% of the votes. So out of, how many votes did we say? It's 43 votes, 21%. There's no way to do the math on that. Probably, so the next answer was probably, but I will watch it some other time, not live, 58%. So most people are not planning on watching it tomorrow, but might, maybe, possibly watch it at some other time. Then 7% of the people are saying maybe if they hear how it went and it was good. Then 5% of people are saying no, that somehow they're watching my channel, but they also don't care about it. And then 9% of people saying they won't, and they were too much of cowards to say why they didn't. So of course I don't count those answers because they don't got no justification for it. They're just trolls or whatever. So I don't count those answers. So yeah, we've got most people are probably going to watch it. So how did the NRA get to the situation it's in today? because, you know, Wayne just decided that, well, I'm going to just, you know, if there's so much participation, I'm going to go in defiance of this participation and do what I want, or just start doing what he wanted because nobody gave a shit what he was doing. Nobody gave a damn until it's too late. And then everybody's like, somebody else should have gave a damn. That's what I see tomorrow as being. Everybody's got an opportunity to find out from the organizations tomorrow what's up, to get an in-person opportunity to see what the organizations and the individuals are gonna, how they're gonna present themselves. But instead of taking that opportunity, you know, off and then you know, complain the rest of the year that the organizations don't do what you want, or you have a misunderstanding of what they're supposed to be doing. You know, if we don't use our time that we have available to calibrate and to get on track, then why would we expect our tools to work in the field? If you're not going to go to the range and sight in an optic, why would it work when you're hunting? But I guess some gun people wouldn't understand the idea of getting their tools ready and practicing. Those are two things that gun people don't do. Getting your tools ready and practicing, or holding things accountable. What we can do is act like a bunch of yahoos and just react after the fact and be manipulated by people who also don't participate but make money by saying that the participation is a waste of time. Preaching to the choir, but I got to pitch to somebody. It's ridiculous that there's absolutely no attention given to the Gun Rights Policy Conference, while everybody is going to nag the rest of the year about how nothing gets done and nobody pays attention to 2A, and they don't know shit about 2A. I'm not saying the Gun Rights Policy Conference is it, but it's, if we have a matrix download of 2A, it's all we got. And how can you be indifferent or pathetic or oblivious about it if you don't even pay attention to it? I can understand it if you've seen it. I can understand people are like, I've seen it and I don't like it, but you're lying if you've said you'd seen it. Most people. All right. I'll be watching it before I do my live stream. We'll do your live stream on top of it. Let's see. Watching the POG auction. So the Pot of Gold did an auction the other day, and we watched it live. Tried watching it over on GunTube, but got kicked off because they don't have enough bandwidth. So, you know, again, is it Night Strike's fault that he can't afford to just buy bandwidth out of his butt? No, nobody's supporting him. So couldn't use his system, so we had to go back to YouTube and did it. And I don't like leaving that kind of stuff up on YouTube, so I just flipped it over so Patreons can see it and channel members can see it, but I don't leave that open. Otherwise, we watched that auction for, I forget how long, quite a while. Yeah, take it easy, Pat. So next up is advanced topics on 2A. I think we had a pretty interesting conversation last week. Went on for about 90 minutes. A bunch of people joined in the text chat, and G23 and Smeggy were in there. And we ended up eventually getting into this concept of anti-gunners, people who don't give a crap one way or the other, people who own a gun, but that's it, and then pro-Second Amendment advocates, and had a debate on, or a comparison, I guess, more than anything, on where we thought the percentages, the sizes, the comparables are on those. And then once we had an idea of each of our perception of the landscape, so to speak, and some of the people that were watching us live, where we think the energy should be spent, or where the efforts best result, like where we're going to get the most bang for our buck, putting attention. We've had debates over the years. Should it be to convert antis into not giving a damn or even being pro-gun? Should it be to get people that don't care into being gun owners? Should it be to get gun owners to be advocates, or should it be something else? And then we threw FUDs into the mix, and it got pretty good. So that's the goal, is to have a different conversation about Second Amendment that isn't focused on news of the week, that isn't focused on some other kind of garbage, but instead just talking about moving the conversation forward. So I appreciate the people that participate in that. This week we'll have another show. Of course, it'll be after the Gun Rights Policy Conference is over, so we'll have time to comment on that and evolve whatever conversation can come from that. I'll invite the same 36 or so people that I invite every week. Most of them, well, a bunch of them. Let's see, what should I say? A bunch of the people that I invite are speaking at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, so we'll see if they're interested in jumping in for some kind of after action. Let's see, we talked at some point about zeroing the AR, so I put a link in here to an old video that I did back in the day. It's got 500,000 views. It's cool to have videos that have 500,000 views or millions of views, because then you don't give a shit about shit that only gets 100 views. So when people are like, your video only gets 100 views, I don't care. I got videos with 500,000 views and millions of views. Doesn't mean nothing other than, once in a while you can say something that catches on, or you can say something in a way that's useful for people. I'm proud to say that none of my videos that are 500,000 or 1,000,000 views are based on any moment in time or some exploitation of a bullshit instance. They're long-term dragon tail, evergreen content that hopefully going to be useful for a long time. Let's see. So next up, we did a history poster a while back, and since we don't have the sewing machine anymore, I can't really sew anymore. Got this poster up, so I ordered one to see what it looks like, and I guess this video is out already. So we kind of took a look at the poster to see. This is the first time I actually got to see it when we opened it up in front of the camera there. I think the colors came out pretty damn good, and basically it's a illustrated history of our Second Amendment, using the organizations, the individuals, a couple of authors, and a couple of other events or significant things that indicate where and at what time these things all happened, as well as using our laws and our bans and our Supreme Court cases over there on the left to help give the timeline some scale. And it might not be the best way to interpret it all, but it's a visual way to interpret it all. And those are available. If you just go to our place over here where it says Spread Shop, I think they're available there. They're either at Spread Shop or they're at Teespring. Looks like you can get the 2A History Project one that we were just showing there. You can get the firearms industry map that we made up live over a couple of nights one time. Or you can get the revolver history, the history of the modern mini revolvers, as well as some of the earlier stuff. And just visual ways to play with our Second Amendment history. And those are all $19.84. And by buying those, you help support what we're doing over here, and you get a cool poster. Is there going to be stuff in the future that if you own the posters, you'll be a participant of because you own the poster? I don't know, maybe. I can't do Free Patch Friday if I can't make patches. Let's see. So then listing every firearms instructor's YouTube channel. So that's what we did. Every Wednesday after roll call gets done, ranting and raving, we go live for an overnight chat to dig in and create resource. In this case, we've listed every single firearms instructor that we could find, minus a couple of the bullshit exploiters, I suppose. There's a couple of losers in here, but for the most part, these are all valid, useful firearms instructors that I've heard of or met, and or some of them I never met, but they somehow got to the top of this list. But yeah, this is effort to both create resource and have some fun creating it, showing people how to use YouTube in a more useful way and the tools available to us in more creative ways, so that we can create stuff for those others who come next to stand on. We're standing on the shoulders of many because those people knew they should stand somewhere in a way that we could stand on their shoulders. If we're going to sit around like mashed potatoes, how's somebody going to stand on our shoulders? Let's see. So next up is Johnny Rowland. Snap. We got some Johnny Rowland. You're taking Johnny Rowland this week. We're only 39 minutes in. So here's a new one. History of the Arizona Rangers, special on the Johnny Rowland Shooting Show. See the date on this? April 2020. Sons of bitches. This is brand new Johnny Rowland. So Johnny Rowland's still doing his thing, talking to this dude about being the Arizona Rangers. And yeah, right on. So there's a link to that. Then you get Johnny Rowland Shooting Show 1999. There was some good stuff earlier in the week when I was learning some other stuff. I had the Johnny Rowland Shooting Show going. And let's see what we got in this one. California news about a gun hoarder. What PBS left out. Bells into bullets. PBS led bell. I like that one. PBS pulls out the Second Amendment out of a thing. That was pretty good. Guns and Ammo magazine talks about that. It's a newspaper from the Hawaiian Riflemen, an organization that put out a newspaper in Hawaii back in 1999 on Second Amendment stuff. Johnny's talking about his website in 1999. Let's see, we got a Georgia Arms 45 DA Colt. Has anyone ever heard of the caliber 45 DA? 45 double action Colt. So it's a 45 Colt in a rimless. Did you hear me? 45 Colt rimless. That's the kind of stuff you find on Johnny Rollins Shooting Show. Then he shoots a 41 Magnum. They go to Clark Custom Guns. He goes, get your tape recorders ready, because then you get a music. Then you get free music. You want to listen to it? We're going to listen to it.
Now, friends, due to an overwhelming response after we played our song there last week, a lot of you really liked what it has to say, and so let me give you fair warning. Go ahead, if you want to tape this, you certainly are welcome to. Get your tape players fired up there, punch the button and record. So here it is again. This is our song called America, Where Have You Gone? Hope you enjoy it again.
I'm not going to play it because I don't think America went anywhere. But in 1999, people were already moping and bitching and crying and complaining. So why do I sit around getting upset when people are not upset? Why do I get, why am I have no patience for losers who sit around being apathetic and whine and complain and mope? Because there's been people doing it since 1999. In fact, I've been around people doing it since longer than that. So Johnny Rollins cool, but he's also cool because he's an insight into the whiny, mopey nature of our community. And everybody's always out to get us, and it's always about to end. You got to get up and get past that and realize that your children's children have to live in a world, and you're making that world. Let's see, shooting Freedom Arms 41 Magnum at night. Yeah, he's shooting a revolver at night. Talks about different flash from different types of powder. It's pretty awesome. Talks about how to turn your AR-15 into a real gun, and talks about buying guns on the internet. Pretty awesome show. I'd recommend it. Let's see. Next up is tour of the Wesson factory. I don't think there's words to describe this. If you think FUDs are little old geezers who shoot shotguns, do you think that there's very many FUDs that run companies? Well, how about in 1999, or approximately 1994, excuse me, you got to see who builds Dan Wessons.
Go to my desk. Yeah.
Look at that computer. Look at that printer.
Welcome to New England. Welcome to Western Firearms. Good to see you. Good to see you. I hope you have a good visit down through the plant.
There you go. So, yeah, hardcore MFs making Wesson firearms back in the day.
Sure. Who speaks fluently many different languages. Say something for us in Espanol.
So that back in the day, they used to speak different languages.
Parts in the shop.
You want to hear some high-tech, knowledgeable info from a firearms manufacturer about their own company?
As you can, all those little marks are going to show up in the bluing in order to get that deep blue shine that we're looking for. This is one of the most important parts in the shop.
Oh, the insight of a firearms factory tour is amazing, and raw footage is even better than amazing because it's raw footage.
Ammunition stored.
Then you go to the Springfield Armory Museum in 1994 and take a tour, and if Logan ever came around, we could find out if this stuff is still available. Listen to this guy say Garand.
Más música, tal vez. I developed this rifle in 1920. When they used it in World War II so much. For the 1873 Springfield Tropical.
Here we go.
All right, here we have an exhibit featuring John C. Durand, who is...
John C. Durand. He says gerund. He says gerund. Gerund. You ever hear of gerund? Now you heard it on Johnny Rollins Shooting Show from 1994, bitches. Gerund.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. The friends, we're looking here at a handgun exhibit. This is a Liberator pistol. It's in .45 caliber, and it's a little bigger. As compared, here's an experimental coat, and here's our regular 1911 we're so familiar with. So this gives you an idea of the size of the Liberator. A single shot, 45 ACP made of stampings, and our own government made about 1 million of these guns, and they dropped them by air. They gave them to people, literally the insurgents in World War II. And the idea was that the insurgent or the partisans would fight against the Japanese or the Nazi forces, and they would use their one bullet. I talk about your Bonnie Fife gun, one bullet, and they would hopefully take some action on a sentry or on.
Pretty neat hearing them talk about Liberator back in the day. You got, in 1994, shooting Tannerite.
Ready? Yep.
Do you feel that heat?
You like that, Judge?
First of all, where did you find the
It's
fire?
ready. Take a look at the smoke up above. Go up in the sky.
Was that a nuclear explosive target?
This here is a...
Well, it looks like they have the fire department, yeah.
That is worth watching. I'm telling you, that is worth watching. All right, and then what happened here? We get, why didn't I link to this one? I don't know why I didn't link to this one. So we're just going to have to go find this one on the YouTube by typing in its title. So this one is, what the hell? Oh, this is the one.
The
Okay.
Gunners of America was founded.
All right. So this one is freaking nuts. For whatever reason, I didn't put the link to the video. So let me just correct that real quick here. Real quick, like. So you notice I'm taking the link to the video minus the ampersand t equals 1663s, because that 1336s means 1600 seconds into it. So and time equals is a qualifier to the URL. Learn how to read shit like that because it's easy as hell. And that way I can take just the thing without having to do anything weird. Go over here and edit the video that we're in. I know most people aren't going to edit the video you're watching because they don't have the cojones to do that live. Go down here to the video where it is and add it right here. And then enter and then save that and go back to the video again. So now the link to this video is in the description of this video. And yeah, there it is. Let's take a look at this. So, all right, I found this, minding my own business. I'm looking around. I think I was searching for museums, and somehow this came up. So we got Larry Pratt, raw footage of Larry Pratt in 1991, hanging out with Johnny Rowland, shooting and sometimes missing stuff, and they're just shooting the shit and shooting. And it's the raw footage for an hour of them shooting in Johnny's backyard and shooting the shit about 2A. So you got Larry shooting 44 Magnum. You got Larry shooting a 9mm Wonder 9. You got him shooting the Mini 14 and talking about the magazine capacity ban. You got an assault rifle versus a 9mm versus a 357. In 1991, people understood that a 9mm was such a weak link that it needed to be brought awareness to that. You got shooting the 44 Magnum versus a 357. And Larry's standing right there for this whole thing, shooting some of it. Then they talk about why you should join the Gun Owners of America, right in the U.S. Congress and whatnot. Here's the history of the Gun Owners of America.
And we won't be able to get to all of the inquiries, I'm sure we'll get to some of them.
Look at that glitch.
Interesting question.
Look at that glitch. You know how much effort it takes to make that glitch on video? On digital?
Yeah, Lord, why don't you tell us?
Is that AR-500 steel, or have people always had metal shit to shoot at? Oh no, people have just always had metal stuff to shoot at.
The Gun Owners of America was founded over 15 years ago by California Senator Bill Richardson, who at that time was on the NRA board. Senator Richardson wanted to have an aggressive organization that would defend our firearms freedoms in terms of the Constitution, in terms of this being a freedom issue. As far as we're concerned, the right to hunt is a very important part of the American landscape, but we're convinced that we need to tell the legislators and really the American public in general that having firearms is part of the Bill of Rights. It's part of that package of individual liberties that was put into our Constitution by our founders to protect us from the government. When we see the kind of gun legislation, alone legislation in other areas of search and seizure, jury trials, even of our freedom of speech, we can see that it's not just the Second Amendment that's under attack. There is a great movement in our government to simply forget that the Bill of Rights is in the Constitution and that it was intended to protect us from the government. A lot of people in the government think it's really the Bill of Rights are there to keep them protected from us, but they've got it exactly wrong. And that's what shapes our whole organization from the beginning to the end. When we defend people in court through our Gun Owners Foundation, when we look at candidates to support with our Gun Owners of America campaign committee, when we go lobbying with Gun Owners of America on Capitol Hill or in some state legislature, we're there because we think the Bill of Rights is still important. The Bill of Rights hasn't been rescinded. There's been no constitutional amendment to take away our Bill of Rights, certainly our Second Amendment freedoms. That's why we think the Gun Owners of America has an important role to play in articulating this very important part of the gun debate. We think that we need to go on the offensive and insist that it's past time to stop any compromises in the area of firearms legislation. We need to start talking about why handgun control, when they tell us that we need to wait.
Handgun control is Brady before it was Brady.
For a gun, or that we can't have a particular kind of gun. They're saying, really, that they've got blood on their hands for the people who've been damaged and even killed because of the firearms laws that are in our country, keeping people, law-abiding people, from getting guns that they have a constitutional right to have. That's what Gun Owners of America is all about.
All right, so let's jump into that a little bit, because this ain't let's just look at things channel of bullshit, waste of time, drive by. Come on. History.
And the most interesting question.
The Gun Owners of America was founded over 15 years ago by California Senator Bill Richardson, who at that time was on the NRA board.
So the NRA board created the Gun Owners of California, which stopped handgun restrictions or bans in California, and then became Gun Owners of America. NRA created Gun Owners of America. NRA board member created Gun Owners for America. NRA's done nothing. NRA is adjacent to things. In this case, adjacent to the creation of the Gun Owners for America. Still, people will tell you, NRA's done nothing.
Senator Richardson wanted to have an aggressive organization that would defend our firearms freedoms in terms of the Constitution, in terms of this being a freedom issue.
Why is he itching his hands all the time? Turns out there's ants all over this fence, and later on, because this is raw footage, we'll hear him give Johnny shit that there's ants all around and they're biting him. So what do we learn? Dude is tender, but he doesn't let it bother him when he's talking to A. But he's tender later on.
As far as we're concerned, the right to hunt is a very important part of the American landscape. But
there's always a but. 1991, they're like, hey, hunters, go F yourself. We're here about the constitutionally protected right of gun ownership. So is GOA been true to that? Oh, please. Has GOA been true to being unapologetically whatever?
We're convinced that we need
Yes.
to tell the legislators and really the American public in general.
So tell the legislatures. Let's hear that again.
Very important part of the American landscape. But we're convinced that we need to tell the legislators and really the American public in general that having firearms is part of the Bill of Rights.
Okay, well, having firearms, period. And then, part of the Bill of Rights, fundamental, important, protected, whatever you want to say, but having firearms is enough, right? So the question is, 1991, he's telling a viewership of people watching a satellite television TV show that hunters can go pound sand, right? Hunters can go pound sand. The Constitution, or the constitutionally protected right to bear arms, is there against a tyrannical government. And then his point is, we think the goal is to tell the legislators and the people. Legislatures and the people. Let's go see what the comments of this poll are. Should we dig into Instagrams? Yes, we're ending it. So it looks like we're going to dig into Instagrams. Y'all asked for it, you're getting it. Then, should we be focused on 2A awareness for let the internet? Oh, come on. Focused on awareness for legislatures. How do you spell that? Legislatures. That's not right. Legislators, or quote unquote let's just say the public and not get too nuanced. He's only in 1991 for crying out loud. He's not time cop. So should we be more, come on, did I spell anything right on this? Should we be focused on 2A awareness for the legislatures? Not the lawmakers, Tupperware. Whoever is listening, Tupperware calls them lawmakers. Or the public. They're representatives, but they're in the legislative branch of government, so I'm calling them legislators because both the representatives in Senate and House Representative are there. So that's the question for y'all. Who should we be focused on? So Larry Pratt is all about, back in 1991, focused on having a hard stance on pro-constitutionally protected right and informing legislators and the community. Like Gun Owners America has been doing just that since 1991 or even before. I guess they have.
It's part of that package of individual liberties that was put into our Constitution by our founders to protect us from the government.
Now he's just preaching to the choir.
Gun legislation, let alone legislation in other areas of search and seizure, jury trials.
So being aware of more than just the specific 2A things, but the 2A adjacent things, which some of these law groupies can't get enough of. Oh, we got to be worried about everything. Search and seizure. Oh, we got to be worried about property rights. Oh, we got to be worried about blah, blah, blah. When we could just be worried about 2A, right?
For our freedom of speech, we can see that it's not just the Second Amendment that's under attack. There is a great movement in our government to simply forget that the Bill of Rights is in the Constitution. And that
you see him keep itching his hands or itching his arms? Later, he'll be soft about that.
It's intended to protect us from the government. The way a lot of people in the government think, it's really the Bill of Rights are there to keep them protected from us, but they've got it exactly wrong. And that's what shapes our whole organization.
Does that really shape their whole organization since 1975? And here in 1991, he's telling an audience of people that they're there to be focused on the constitutionally protected right, not any of that other crap, and also offering suggestions on how they're going to do that by creating awareness to legislators and the public to that key factor.
From the beginning to the end, when we defend people in court through our Gun Owners Foundation,
you definitely don't see Wayne getting up there and being like, here's what the NRA is going to do. In fact, he'll be on this exact same show going, hey, are you scared of losing your hunting grounds? Literally, there's another show where Wayne's going, hey, are you scared of losing your hunting grounds?
when we look at candidates to support with our Gun Owners of America campaign committee, when we go lobbying with Gun Owners of America on Capitol Hill.
So look at that. What are you doing?
That was put into our Constitution by our founders to protect us from the government. When we see the kind of gun legislation, let alone legislation in other areas of search and seizure, of jury trials, even of our freedom of speech, we can see that it's not just the Second Amendment that's under attack. There is a great movement in our government to simply forget that the Bill of Rights is in the Constitution and that it was intended to protect us from the government.
That went way too far back.
The government thing, it's really the Bill of Rights are there to keep them protected from us, but they've got it exactly wrong. And that's what shapes our whole organization from the beginning to the end. When we defend people in court through our Gun Owners Foundation, when we look at candidates to support with our...
Okay, so they defend people in court. They, what was that? What did you just say? They research candidates for 2A stance.
The Gun Owners of America campaign committee, when we go lobbying with Gun Owners of America on Capitol Hill.
And then they lobby on Capitol Hill. So whenever anybody's from Gun Owners of America is watching this and wants to hork off of everything good enough for this show, start reiterating these three messages. What is Gun Owners of America there to do? Well, we do three things. Historically, we've defended people in court. We research and offer information on candidates that are running for office and their stance on 2A. And we lobby on Capitol Hill. Isn't that much more effective than being like, blah, 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 all their stupid other crap? And I want to see this exact same bullet points from NRA, from SAF, and from FPC, and every other organization that claims to want to take money off of our table from our community. I said it.
Well, in some state legislature, we're there because we think the Bill of Rights is still important. The Bill of Rights hasn't been rescinded. There's been no constitutional amendment to take away our Bill of Rights, certainly our Second Amendment freedoms. That's why we think the Gun Owners of America has an important role to play in articulating this very important part of the gun debate. We think that we need to go on the offensive and insist that it's past time to stop any compromises in the area of firearms legislation.
What are you talking about, Larry Pratt? In 1991, you're suggesting that you go on the offensive and quit any suggestion of compromises? Come on.
We need to start talking about why handgun control, when they
Remember, handgun control was a name before it was called the Brady campaign. Before Bloomberg jumped in and gave them money, they kept changing their name every few years for shady reasons, deceptive, manipulative reasons.
Tell us that we need to wait for a gun, or that we can't have a particular kind of gun. They're saying
this is in '91. He's saying all this with the awareness you would have had pre-assault weapons ban, just after the 1986 Gun Owners Protection Act. This is 1991, for crying out loud. A whole bunch of you people ain't even been born yet.
really that they've got blood on their hands for the people.
Did you just hear what he said? He's calling representatives out and saying they got blood on their hands as a result of the consequences of their laws that they perpetrated on the poor people.
Damaged and even killed because of the firearms laws that are in our country, keeping people, law-abiding people, from getting guns. If they have a
dude in a button-down shirt with a nerd pen in his pocket and that belt buckle and that lame watch is going to sit there and tell us about what's going on?
Constitutional right to have. That's what Gun Owners of America is all about.
I feel like this guy should have camouflage on, at least some sort of vest, and then some sort of ammo showing. I don't care about his pen. I want to see some sort of ammo showing, and I want to see this guy way more marginalized than this. This guy doesn't represent a hunter or an extremist. Come on.
Second,
Okay, let's see how he's itching.
Gun Owners of America is a grassroots organization with members all across the country.
What?
They're our only source of support. We
What?
don't have industry support. We don't have...
Now they do, so that's bullshit. Like in 91, they didn't have any industry support. You think they got industry support now? Do they sell out? Do they still have those goals in mind? Let's see. So Micklick. All right, we're going to watch this. Here's Micklick interviewing Judy Wooley. So Judy Wooley is, some people suggest, the first championship shooter since Annie Oakley. She was at the level of Annie Oakley in the 1990s out of nowhere. And here's Micklick. A lot of people respect Micklick.
This is Judy Wooley, top speed shooter, female. I can say that, top woman, speed shooter, yeah.
So let's go a little bit before that. Look at this glitch. You can't pay for that glitch.
Top speed shooter, female. I can say that, top woman, speed shooter, yeah.
Where's that glass ceiling at?
What's the point where to say that?
The 1990 and 1991 Women's World Shooting Champion.
What a fuck. What a fuck. She's on his team, and she's two-time world champion, first female shooter since Annie Oakley. And he's like, she's a girl. She's standing next to me.
Okay.
Look at this comprehension and skill of a champion.
That wasn't me.
And we'll have every last story to come by and go around.
Trains.
Well, friends, this is your cameraman, Johnny, for the shooting show. And we're here this afternoon with our good friend, Jerry Micklick. And also, Jerry has a lovely lady on his left. And Jerry, who's with us here today?
This is Judy Wooley. She's the Smith & Wesson team member. Do that again.
Oh, the female, sorry, you're going to say female type.
I didn't want to say that, but very good.
Tell me, Judy, how many people are on your team? How many women are on your team?
And she has to just blow that shit off.
There's only one team, or one lady. I'll tell you.
Friends, this is good friend, Jerry Micklick.
It's interesting, but it's also sad as shit. So there you go. 1991, and she's cutting ground in like 16 different ways right there. And you get Kay Clark. I guess they were already married, but it's hard to know.
We have this, and the shop has repeated in silhouette and a sharpened back. So, Kay, so we're going to ask her a couple of questions. Kay.
Then you get to Jim, And it's amazing. Is this the same show? No, it's not the same show. But if you watch this one and you get J. Clark Micklick, no, what's his name? J. Clark Jr., Jim Clark Jr. So this is Clark's son, right? Talking about his shop for a couple of minutes. And then you get Wesson in that last video talking about his shop for a few minutes. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. So one of my favorite ones so far, super interesting GOA stuff. GOA, hate them or love them, authentic and the same since 75. I mean, I don't know if that means that what they're doing is ineffective or if it doesn't work, but they've definitely been true to their goals the whole time. What's up with this? We only have 6 votes. Oh, there's only 3 people watching. Everybody ditched out of here. As soon as I said the truth about Micklick, people couldn't handle it and ditched out of here. So is it just too late in the evening for or is watching real GOA too much for everybody? Anyway, we had 6 votes, and somehow it came out to half of you think that we should be focused on two-way awareness for the legislatures, and the other half think it's two-way awareness for the publics. I don't think there's a right answer for that, but now you've made it look like there's no majority opinion either. So I hope you're happy with yourselves. I think this is what the DC project is doing. So for all of you that think that it's more important to talk to the representatives, I think you can be happy that it's happening, right? Is that the end? I think that's the end. Definitely worth checking out some of those Johnny Rollin' shooting shows. They're awesome. I don't know if we got a Foss show coming up this week because of he doesn't post now, I guess. We've got the Gun Rights Policy Conference coming up tomorrow, but now I'm going to head over to the Instagrams and I'm going to check out some of the channels that I will follow over there. So what I did, I'm going to try to remember to do this more. Favorite some of the posts that I see throughout the week. But since I didn't do that this week, what we're going to do is look at some of the channels that I follow and see what they've been doing recently or lately. And we're going through. I have an unusually wide monitor, so don't be frightened. This is all the channels we found. So we got Dragonman, who, as we mentioned, had his machine gun shoot last weekend. He also has a car show coming up. So he did some videos talking about how he doesn't know which one of his like 34 or 40 something hot rods he's going to bring. Had a post here about how well the museum tours are doing this year, doing a couple of different museum tours each week, one on Wednesday and then on Sunday. I think he also does them Saturdays for every once in a while. Or no, it says on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 10 a.m., one guided tour each day. So how cool is that? You can get to Dragonman's before November 11th. Is that, what is that, Veterans Day or Memorial Day? I don't remember. It's one of those two. And then that'll be his season closer. I can't imagine. The tour's got to be going awesome. So they just had the machine gun shoot, and then that's what majority of the posts were. So then you get the National Association of National African American Gun Owners Association. Yeah, National African American Gun Owners Association. They don't even write it on here, so everybody's got to try to remember. It's just called NAGA. A couple of interesting posts over here. I thought this one was pretty good. Close to half of all U.S. gun buyers since the beginning 19 have been women. A shift for a market long dominated by men. An estimate of 30.5 million women and 4 million men became new gun owners from 19 till April of this year. First off, I'm going to continue to challenge that because every time I see any numbers about the number of new gun owners, it has to do with 4473s. So if a grandmom has 3 granddaughters, and they've been around guns their whole lives, but they now moved away from home and they're 18, and now they came to grandma and said, hey, let me grab a shotgun from you. And she said, sure, here's one of the shotguns, except we live in a stupid state that has stupid mandatory background checks. So even though you're my granddaughter, I have to take this gun and you to a gun shop and potentially pay money, inconvenience ourselves, and all the rest of potential issues there are with having to go do something like that. Tell the state that you're transferring your property, and then have it be on record. And if in this case it's misinterpreted as 3 new gun owners, then everyone runs around with their jollies hanging out saying about how there's 3 new gun owners, and because of their names, the sexists say that they're females, or because of the sexist forms make you put out your gender or your sex or whatever it is, then they can go around claiming that there's 3 new gun owners. If a girl who's been shooting her whole life and gets her shotgun from her grandma, is that a new gun owner? That's bullshit. I don't take it. I will not take that claim. That's all from the NSSF, and the NSSF is satisfied to run around with that number. And I think we're deluding ourselves. We should be, I don't think it matters. That's the thing. So I don't care that they say it. I'll just continue to challenge the number, and that we shouldn't be sitting back. It's an excuse for apathy. Oh, we got all these new gun owners. We're set. We've got a bunch of new gun owners on board. Bullshit. We just have the residual of the existing gun owners. Does that mean new people came on board? If you see 5 new people come on board and 95 children of gun owners, that's not a bunch of new gun people. And if they mark everybody as 100 people bought guns and they're counting them as 100 new gun owners, then we're deluding ourselves. So I'm going to keep saying it. But the other part of it, the part about female, that's the part I really wanted to complain about. And I'll probably do a mansplaining on this. But even in this own post, they say a half of U.S. gun buyers since the beginning of 19 have been women. And I won't dispute that, because we can get that gender or sex or whatever it is off the 4473. So that's fine. So if sales have been to females and it's close, it's half now, then that's awesome. But the problem is it didn't go from 0 to half. So let's not be using numbers to create a narrative. It went from something like 30 something to half. It jumped, but it jumped from a plateau. It jumped from a number that has been growing over the years. So to suggest that the female firearms ownership is new is a slap in the face, and it's ridiculous to the women that we know have been in it since, for example, Jude, the lady we just seen, who was the competition shooter that got dissed by Micklick, her own team member, in 1991, one of the first competitive shooters of the new era. So 1991, females were involved at the level of being world championships. You can listen to female Olympic interviews and listen to their stories of how their national level female competitions led to their eventual inclusion with the higher level stuff. So, or the higher shooting, higher level competitions and stuff. So anyway, I'm just saying that we act like all of a sudden everybody got woke, and that's feeding into some bullshit narrative, and it disregards and disrespects the people that put in a tremendous effort to allow these ladies to step up to the next level from the shoulders of those ladies who have already been doing stuff. And let's not forget them, and let's not act like this new generation is so woke and special that they've done it all, they've accomplished it, because it overestimates their ability. And when they actually have the weight of the future on their shoulders, and they're going to be crippled by it because they're feeble and they're soft, right? They're going to get done with the interview and complain about how the ants bit his wrists or whatever. All right, next is Walk Talk America. So they got Ashley on, who's talking about issues, and it's interesting. So I'm going to leave that in there. Walk the Talk is also, it's suicide prevention, but it's also changing the focus on, or changing the stigma on mental health awareness, or removing barriers to mental health, aid, assistance? I don't know what to call it. But, thinking of it like any other injury and being aware, and they bring suicide into it, but it's not only focused on suicide. So again, great project. And this month is a couple of different things. I think it's bringing injury awareness. We've got Suicide Prevention Month, I think. So we've got a couple of different things, and they do a decent job of not just paying lip service, but getting stuff done, but at the same time being aware of what's going on. A lot of the nerds that get stuff done, especially doctors and stuff, never come up for air into the social world and Walk Talk America is accomplishing that as well. Hard to give them shit when they're accomplishing so much, and they're doing it well. So I don't know how to say her name. Is it Gimme Thrasher? I found her whenever I was looking at the Olympic stuff this year, and she's just putting out a ton of content, and I don't know nothing about competition shooting, so a lot of her stuff is, tips and tricks. She's transitioning from being a coach individually with being a coach through Patreon and through digital posts. So she's going to, she's created digital resources and things so that she can reach out to more of these kids that are attempting to get into national level and international level shooting competitions. So just super cool stuff and interesting. I haven't had a lot of experience with this stuff. So she's good at it, and she's talking about stuff that I've never really paid attention to before. And she's also paying attention to a pretty big spectrum of the shooting sports, as far as I can tell. Let's see. Your G has been deleted. How many of them are CHL female renews that require 4473s? I don't know what that means. Like handgun concealed permit renewals that require 4473s? Oh, I never thought of that. Holy crap, dude. Holy shit. Where'd you come up with that one? Did somebody say that, or did you come up with that one? Now I know what you're saying. Holy crap. That's a thing. I'm going to put that in my list of shit to mansplain. Thank you. I'm keeping that one. I'm writing it down right now on a piece of paper like an old man. So what the hell am I going to say then? I think I'm going to put it over here and go, how many 473s are from CCW applications? Holy crap, dude. Yeah. They're not 4473s, but they're background checks that'll be done. So yeah, it's like a NICS check, but it's not a 4473. And I don't know if they might put them in a different pile. I've certainly never seen anybody like Lot say, oh, don't worry about it. As soon as I hear Lot say, oh, I've done the numbers, I'll be all right with that. I'll look over to Smeggy, and if he gives me the nod, then I'll be okay with that. All right, so then you get Cash, this one kid who does stuff with guns all the time. He does a pretty good job. He's basically a little auto loader, a little moon food. You know what I'm talking about? And he's focused on AK stuff. So I pay attention, I watch his stuff. He's got some interesting YouTube videos as well. He does some other stuff. He's being a kid, showing his motorcycle and stuff. But yeah, so that's a cool channel. I don't think much of this is new. The Makarov is new. If you're going to go Mac, I don't know why you wouldn't get Bakelite. However, he got a Bulgarian, so to me it feels like it should have plum grips. But hey, kid, do what you want. You know, if you want to have Bakelite grips, Russian grips on a Bulgarian, it should have plum plastic. It's whatever, you know. So then we got Alan Anchor, thinks they're so good, and they got this electric patch that I don't got, and now they're saying how there's only 9 of them left. So that's one of my ones that I like, where they don't swear on it and it's still funny. So they also got this little puppy, so it's an opportunity to show off this little puppy. I don't think they rub its belly enough, but what are you gonna do? Yeah, you can go buy stuff off of them. You need patches, that's where I'd recommend going. I'll put a link over here, even though YouTube won't like it. Oh, you know what else I can do? So that I can take a drink of the coffee.
We would like to say thank you to owlandanchor.com for great two-way items like these. Go to owlandanchor.com and place an order today.
They say in the 1940s, this guy named Alan Acorn was walking through the desert and he got lost. So at some point, he's seen a ridge of mountains and trees and stuff. And this one looked a lot like an owl. So he started walking towards it. And then he just wanted to walk straight towards it for some reason and didn't want to waver from that route. And he walked right through some cactuses and stuff, which gave him, you know, as he was picking all these cactuses out of his pants and stuff, he was given the idea, the inspiration for Velcro. So he created that, he had that concept, he didn't know what to do with the Velcro. And then as he was walking a little bit further, he fell into this creek or whatever, got a big rash, got a big scab. And at some point that made him think of making it into a patch so that you could make patches with Velcro on them. He kept walking towards that thing. And when he got up underneath of it, a big tree fell off of that rock that looked like an owl, and that tree killed him. But it looked like an anchor. And then that story went on for a long time. And eventually now there's a store called Owl and Anchor. You can buy stuff from them. Combat Story is a dude who does these interviews. It's usually like 90 minutes and 2 hours at the most, typically, over on the YouTube. Really interesting. Does stuff from non-vets, from vets that have done a lot of stuff, and then also vets that had done some things that you don't think about. So interesting variety of interviews, and focuses mostly on the situations that they were in or the action that they dealt with. And a little bit about how they got to be what they were doing, and then a little bit about what their story is focused on, like if they wrote a book or if they're known for something. And then kind of short and sweet compared to some of the other podcasts I enjoy that focus on military vets and military support, because like I say, his focus on who he interviews and then his sort of ask a few questions and sit back and listen is pretty decent. So he doesn't really do much on Instagram other than kind of point out some stuff that's coming up and, hey, remember when I interviewed this guy kind of thing. And then every once in a while, a little thank you or a heads up. He did an interesting podcast the other day where this guy, I don't know who he was, some kind of doctor, brain nerd guy came on, history guy came on, and they talked about it's the Spartans, but before the movie 300, like the Spartan group before that, and one of their kings or generals or something. It's pretty interesting. I don't really pay attention to that stuff very much, so it's about 45 minutes worth of something I'd never heard about. Well, that restaurant comes from a whole nother story. There's a big lawsuit and like a legal battle. There's some gold rocks and a boat. Let's see. So next we've got the Tombstone Mercantile, which is a cool place in Tombstone, Arizona. If you ever go to Tombstone, you go down the old street. It is the big ice cream shop and hotel at the far east end of the road, of the walkway, or of the street. And super cool people. And over the years, we visited, and they're the channel that are there, the account that I follow from Tombstone. They do the most kind of variety, most fun, I think. So anyway, they've got a festival coming up on October 9th, and they posted some stuff, just some different past events here that have been going on down there. I don't think people are traveling, so I'm guessing towns like Tombstone are probably feeling it. Why did we put Rebecca Schmoy in here? Probably because of because of Gizzard. But he's not even watching, so we won't have to spend too much time talking about Kansas, the rectangle state. So let's see. She posted that she was talking about red flag laws back in the day. I kind of noticed how can you see how the news cycle and why we don't follow the news cycle? The news cycle is desperate to have you tune in, and they're desperate to add their voice to the pile. There's the Gizzard. So I guess we'll go talk about Rebecca Schmoy. So, they're desperate to get their voice or add their thing to the pile. It's useless. The posts are useless days later. They're pointless weeks later. And they just fall into the mush of a viral spurge. So they don't probably get indexed the same as like valid long tail info as far as content on the internet goes. So I just don't get why people would fall into the let's constantly be diverted, have our attention separated or focused on things that are out of control. The things that either already happened or are just potentials, but because other people are chatting about it, let's waste our time also. And I guess some of that was frustration. For the most part, though, she doesn't spend her time wasting too much time doing that, but she certainly does, and I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring that one up, just because it's frustrating to see that this, that she's wasting her time thinking about this stuff. Then you get the well-armed woman, one of the large female-focused national-level organizations that nobody pays attention to, gives any credit to, or acknowledges. So, they do all kinds of things on a regular basis, many thousands of events each year. And this one I'm putting up here because it happened in Arizona. But you can see some sort of competition shooting type event. Finished up their meeting with members with running the 9-hole wall. So it sounds like it wasn't a shooting event, but instead I assumed it was their meeting. And then at the end of the meeting, they ran drills with the handguns through this. I don't know if people have used one of these things before. It's a barrier used for concealment. So for some of the stages in competitions, you'll use these as concealment, and often the stage will designate which hole or which little port they want you to use. Some of them are designed to emulate something, but mostly just maybe the weird angles you'd have to shoot for hunting or for some kind of defensive situation around a vehicle, for example. So it gives you a piece of wood and an opportunity to develop either hold off or standoff, or in this case, they're going up and touching the barricade and using some sort of what am I trying to say, like a braced position off the barricade itself. Other times that you can see all the holes in them. People are doing standoffs, and it's difficult to remember. You got a significant bore axis different on an AR or a rifle usually, and even a pistol when you're standing off of a hole in an obstacle like that. Anyway, it's kind of interesting, and those things are useful. Pretty decent example of the kind of posts that they make on this one. Thing is about the well-armed women chat thing is they got a whole bunch of channel pages or channels on Instagram based off of the area, or usually I think the geographic region or the group. So this is like their main one, I think. Then you get Mom at Arms doing all kinds of good work. I think she considers herself a Second Amendment advocate / researcher. So she goes in and looks in, is an investigative reporter, like a crump that isn't associated with nobody except herself. And she goes in and finds information and does research, gets leads and leaks about Second Amendment folks. So she's been doing some stuff on Shan for quite a while. Not letting things rest is another feature of the Mom at Arms group. It's more than one girl, but they do an awesome effort for the most part. There's more than one person there, so they spend some time on things. So they're not 100% focused on like one specific thing, but aside from that, like they're putting in a lot of work and breaking stuff all the time, breaking news all the time. So they don't get enough credit for the stuff that they kind of instigate, but they'll get this word out there, and then others will start mentioning it, and then it becomes trending or bigger than it is. So anyway, I like the channel. It's worth watching. This was neat. Did anybody see this thing when the FBI people were arresting, or when the police were arresting the FBI guy? They had a couple of remarks about that. So here's the NRA channel. Let's see how many people jump off of here. I'm looking at the NRA channel. I'm apologizing for the NRA channel. I'm sorry that they have 2.2 million followers, and every other channel I've looked at up here doesn't even have the 200,000 followers. They got 200,000. They're following 1176. That's a weird number. And they've got 2,000 posts. Let's see. So we got something about the University of Arizona banning the come and take it flag. So they just recommended that people use their First Amendment to do whatever. I thought this one was kind of annoying. This one seemed kind of lame for them to use that one, I think. This one, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know if they're trying new marketing people or what. That, of course, I don't like. They got Rick Ector in here. That was kind of weird. But at least they're giving credit to, Rick getting his work done. And, yeah, a little bit different flavor to the NRA lately. Interested to see what people might think about it. If you're looking for content, consider looking through NRA's posts. You can probably tell when the flavor sort of changes. And I don't know if it was run by a different group or different people in the group or what. Oh, let's see. Then we get to gun policy, one of the few channels that does have close to that 0.2. They got 300, so they got a 0.3 million, 0.3 million viewers. Let's see. We got. I thought this one was good because of that weird face that guy's making. Like that was a pretty good graphic for that one. That's the guy in New York yelling and screaming. It seems like FPC hasn't won any. Well, I should say they're coming in second, but they don't even compete with Gun Owners of America. And I just don't get it. It seems like they have their shit together and they've got a lot of people on board. They got a lot of crew. I don't know how many accomplishments they might have, but, it's not all about, gold medals or wins, because it's not, we're not hitting finish lines. I guess you can have notches on a stock or something to indicate how many battles you've been through. I don't know how many they've got, but it still seems like they're doing a good job. I mean, I guess it's possible to completely unlike anything that they're doing. I guess if you don't like the color black, you're not going to like FBC's channel. They put a lot of black colors in there. But aside from that, I can't think of anything that they're doing that's like too consistently one thing or another. So I'm kind of always surprised that FPC, compared to Gun Owners of America, just lays down on the ground compared to Gun Owners of America coming in and sopping up all the juices. All right, then we get Ed's Manifesto, one of the cooler channels to watch. Let's see what's this thing. We thought this thing was pretty cool. It says, reposted from some other guy. A Massachusetts federal court has set deadlines in the lawsuit launched by the Mexican government against American gun manufacturers. On August 13th, the U.S. court agreed to hear the litigation. According to a statement by the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Relations released on Sunday, the defendant companies will have until November 22nd of this year, 2021, to present their response to the Mexican lawsuit and oppose the legal defenses they deem pertinent. After that, the Mexican government will have until January 31st, 2022 to respond. The defendant companies will then have to present their response before February 28th, 2022. The process is expected to conclude in the first half of next year. Right, so they've given them this like back and forth time frame, and that's it. The Mexican government filled out the civil lawsuit in a federal court in Massachusetts on August 5th against 10 gun companies for negligent business practices in Mexico. The 139-page lawsuit accuses the the U.S. companies of actively facilitating the flow of weapons to powerful drug cartels, adding that 70% of guns traced in Mexico are found to have come from the United States. Let me reiterate what it says in this article. Adding that 70% of guns traced in Mexico are found to have come from the United States. The lawsuit alleges that Smith & Wesson, Barrett Firearms, Colts, Glock, Ruger, and others knew their business practices encouraged illegal arms trafficking into Mexico. The suit is seeking $10 billion in damages. The Mexican entity responded that it is not against arms trafficking, and all it seeks is responsible trade and stricter commercial practices. The suit demands that the companies present measures to reduce the damage they have caused and incorporate all available security mechanisms in their weapons, including devices to prevent unauthorized users' use of these weapons. A day before the suit was filed, arms manufacturer SIG requested approval from the U.S. government to sell automatic assault rifles, whatever the fuck that is, to the Mexican armed forces. Then the U.S. Congress was reportedly notified that the Mexican Navy and Naval Corps are expected to buy up to $5.5 million worth of semi-automatic rifles manufactured by SIG. SIG is not named in the civil lawsuit. So anyway, just thought that's interesting, and all these people that are chasing headlines and shit are not chasing this one, mainly because they don't want to fuck with cartels more than likely. But interesting. I think this is a cool picture of what it's like when you let shit fall to shit. Except I don't think you're going to have phones anymore. What was this one? Which one's going to win? Is there sound? I don't know which one won. Okay, then we go back. Ed posts a lot, but I'm trying to think if there was anything else that speaks for itself. Trying to think if there was anything else that was good from Ed this week. It's worth watching his channel, though. A lot of that stuff was actually good to watch, or good to, but I'm not thinking 2 hours into this show it's worth getting in just too much of Ed stuff. Let's see, what's going on with Clover over there? He's doing weird things, looking at guns or whatever. He's going to AmCon, so he's one of the few people being live at AmCon. And then he's going to the USCCA thing also, I think. He's got that channel with the YouTuber thing going. Does he have a YouTuber Instagram? A GunTuber Instagram, I mean? I think that was what I was going to show on Clover's. All right, with that. Oh, snap. Changing the poll. We had only 4 votes before, I think. Or did we have 7? No, we had 4 because it was even. Now there's 10. Or maybe it was 6. I don't know. Now it's 10. And somehow people think that we should be focused on 2A awareness for the public over the legislatures. So I'll leave it there. I don't think that's wrong necessarily, because who cares about the legislators? They need to know, but if we are aware, then they are aware, because they are us, right? So, yeah, that makes sense. 100% of those 70% came from Fast and Furious. Yeah, that whole statistic came from Fast and Furious. And again, letting news of the day addicts and those willing to just sit around paying attention to the news of the day as if, there's a lot of people that think, well, I get in the water every day and I tread water and I'm super healthy, I'm strong, and every day I do it. I've got the the willpower to go in there every day and tread water, and you're never going to tell me that I'm not doing my part. I'm treading water every single day. Well, what if they fucking swam in a direction instead of swimming, just treading water? Are they scared to get away from the shore? Are they scared to get away from the radio or whatever it is that they're tethered to by treading water? Like, start swimming, So you don't have to go the whole distance. There's a bunch of us. But if we all start swimming in a direction, then the school or the swarm is in motion. And that allows some of the leaders on our side, the people who are standing at the tops in the positions of making the decisions on direction for the national level organizations, are they unable to make directions or leadership direction, or is it because there's no one to lead? It's a tough decision. So I think by stop treading water, by making some decisions, taking a bearing and swimming in a direction, that inspires others to do the same, and potentially, and most often at least. And then once you got a bunch of people swimming in a direction, people can't wait to jump and join. Too many people are treading water because they got no other choice. Everybody else is treading water all around them. What are they going to do? Start knocking into people? So swimming in a direction has consequence, and I think it has value. I think we'll end it there. I can't think of anything else we need to chat about tonight. We'll probably look at other platforms, in future weeks, like we have, going to look at places like GunTube.org. Eventually, we'll figure out what to do on Tuesdays, and we'll continue to post the auctions over there when we can. You've got gunstreamer.com, which I also post things to once in a while. and I see other people are participating in, and we'll dig into those platforms. This thing lets me now stream to Twitter, and I know that Gizzard streams to Twitter. I forgot to do it today, so I might start streaming to Twitter because it doesn't cost anything. But does it stay on Twitter? Is there a copy that stays behind on Twitter when you do that? I don't know. So I don't think anybody here uses Twitter, but if there is any feedback on that, I'd be curious. Let me know. Does anybody want to do an after? Is it worth putting a link to the after in here? Some nights it's a big deal and everybody jumps in and we have a great time. Other nights I just sit here for 10 minutes with the room open for no reason. I just watched Foundation, which is amazing. They had 2 episodes of Foundation over there. It's not amazing, but it's pretty cool to finally see a video version of Isaac Asimov Foundation series. I guess it's worth watching. It's kind of fake, but whatever, you know, they're trying to put something that's never been done before onto film. So that was what I was doing. So I'm going to go back to working on some other stuff then. I do appreciate you joining live. That's part of the fun of doing these things on the net. Anybody can produce a video. You can produce it all fancy and you can never hear what's going on and only get feedback from a couple of people who want to give you feedback, and it's, you know, deliberated and edited and, you know, written with intent, where live is real and it's honest and it's authentic. So I appreciate the people that join us live and the people that produce content so that we can all be part of stuff like this throughout the week. There is a semi-live version of Gun Rights Policy Conference tomorrow, which only happens once a year. And the last 2 years it's been virtual. Hopefully they learned a bunch of lessons from last year. So we'll look forward to what happens tomorrow. I don't know, so far I've only got like 2 people say that they'd want to have a live chat. So if there's people that are interested in having some sort of live parallel conversation while the Gun Rights Policy Conference is going on, then let me know. I'd be more than happy to host a live conversation throughout the whole time. And no, you know, we don't have to. So if nobody wants to, we don't need to. And the only way I'll know that is with some comments. So leave them now or leave them in the description of this video if you're watching this later. We already did a commercial for Owl and Anchor. So since both Smeggy and Gizzard are out there, I think I'm going to use the Gizzard ending to this one. We'll be back to pick you up later. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching GunWebsites.com.